just tend to overthink my projects at like this point in time, but in the end I'm almost always happy with it. So Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current projects, finished projects, planned projects. Sometimes I talk a bit about yarn, just anything that comes to mind while I sit here and chat with you. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. But before we get into everything I've been doing this week, I wanted to share a bit about what I'm wearing, and today I'm wearing one of my newest summer knits, and probably the summer knit I've made this year that's the most summery, and that's my Always Camisole by Garnogslikt. This camisole is amazing. I really love it. I really enjoy the high neckline that it has. I have a few other knit camisoles, but they have like straps and are quite low cut, or at least not this high cut. This is right up around my neck, and I didn't think I liked this fit, but I made one for my cousin, and then I really enjoyed the fit of that when I tried it on to see what the size ended up being. So I just fell in love with this and had to make one for myself, and here it is. It's also an incredibly quick knit. I think in the original pattern you're supposed to knit it on 5.5mm needles with knitting for olive merino and kid silk, but I really wanted to knit this using Drops cotton merino. I don't have the skein in this color with me, but I have another skein. It's quite thick, but when I knit with it I realized it isn't as thick as the pure silk merino combination, so I didn't really like the way the fabric looked on 5.5mm needles. It was too gapey and just too loose, didn't hold any structure to it, just flopped around. So I decided to go down a needle size just for this to be a bit of a better fabric. So this is knit on 5mm needles. I knit the size medium, which was still fine for me. I usually do medium, and I did that for this as well, even though I went down a needle size. And the only thing that ended up happening is that this is not as oversized as the one in the pattern is, but that's okay because I didn't really want it to be super oversized anyways. I quite like, it's not like super tight fitting, but it's also not like just flowing way. It's still quite tight fitting, it's just not tight, which I really enjoy. It makes it easier to layer both things underneath it and things over it, so I really like that. One thing I am a bit sad about though is that I made this, it was really nice weather, it had been really nice weather for a while, and it like kickstarted me. I wanted to make all of these summer knits. I needed something to wear in the warmer weather. And then when I started finishing my summer knits, the weather got really cold again, and I still could wear this on its own probably. I just freeze, and I don't really want to freeze, so I've been layering it up, trying to figure out ways to still wear my summer knits even though it's cold, and I'm quite enjoying that as well, and it works really well for layering. But I do really miss being able to wear my summer knits as summer knits and on their own and in warm weather. But I also knew going into this that we don't really get a lot of summer weather here. So I'm trying to keep in mind this year to make pieces that works for colder weather as well, because I have burned myself on that in years previous, that I've just looked on Instagram and looked at people who live in maybe warmer places than me and what they make for their summer knits, and it looks so good, so I want to make it, and then I make it and it doesn't really work with the weather we have here. And sure, most of them could be layered, but some of them look better layered than others, so I'm trying to keep that in mind this year with my choice of fiber and with my choice of pattern. For this one as well, I went with cotton merino because I didn't want it to be in just cotton or just like summer fibers, because I want this to still be a bit warm. And also I think merino is really nice, or wool just in general, when knitting, because wool has memory, cotton has not, so if it gets stretched, it just gets stretched, but wool has memory, so it keeps its shape a lot better over time with use and wear. So I think it's really nice to be able to put that in as many of my makes as possible, and I feel quite lucky to be living where I do, because I can wear wool all of the year because it is cold enough for that. So I am very pleased with that, even though I would love just a few warm days so I could wear my summer knits as intended. But yeah, I also love the color of this. The first version I made that I gifted, I made in navy blue, and I love blues, but since I had gifted one exactly like this away to my cousin, I didn't want to like copy paste that. I wanted it to be a bit different. And then I saw this blue in my stash, and I love blue. I love all blues. Blue is my favorite color, just all types of blue. And that is, I think that shows in my knitted wardrobe. There are a lot of blue hues and blue sweaters, and everything is basically blue. But I really enjoy this color. I like the navy blue and the darker blues, but the more like dusty, a bit lighter blues really have my heart. And this color, once I saw it, I just knew this had to be my always camisole, and I think it ended up looking really good. I really like this color for this sort of tank or tee as well, so I'm really happy with my choice there. I am trying to broaden my horizon a bit, knit with different colors and try out other things than just blues and neutrals, because that's like my safe haven, and I'm loving trying out other colors, and I am really obsessed with just knitting in the whole rainbow lately. But there is something about blue that I'll always come back to, and the staples in my wardrobe are most of the time blues or greys, because that's just what I naturally go towards. But that is all I'm going to say about my always camisole now. Would highly recommend it. It is a really quick knit. Depending on what yarn you do it with, I would also recommend a gauge watch, depending on how tight you knit and how loose you knit and just the fabric that you want. But it is a really nice, simple pattern, knits up quickly, looks beautiful, so would highly recommend it. But now we can get into what I've actually been doing this week, and I think this week I'm going to start with my whips. I have also just recently published a video, a week of knitting, so if you want to see like more in details of all of these whips and the finished object I have this week, you can watch that week of knitting and see the projects grow day by day. But now I'll just do the summary, and I'm going to start with my oldest whip. I'm not going to talk about my wedding dress today, so my oldest whip is this. This is my birthday camisole, or the Eikeblad top, which is a test knit I'm doing that really should be getting more attention, but I have been on quite a like obsession knit streak lately, and this just has not been my obsession knit, but I did get quite a bit done today, and I think this is my new obsession now, because these double knit straps are not like the most interesting. They look really good, but it's not like super interesting to do. So when that's what I have to do, I find myself very easily getting pulled towards other projects. But this lace on the other hand is super engaging, super fun. It grows so quickly, it looks so good, and you don't really do a lot, but what you do is so impactful. So I'll show the front first, because that's where I have the most to show. The front's been done. The front yoke has been done for quite some time. Here you can see the front. It rolls up a bit now before it's done, but here is the front. This lovely lace patterning here that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I love those little holes and everything about it. So this is the front that's been done for way over a week now, I think. The lace, the increases, everything, and then I had to pick up on the double knitted straps again, and because you knit the double knit straps from like the top of the shoulder and down, and then you have to pick up, you do this magic cast on, and then you pick up and you go to do the back yoke, and I wasn't super into that, so it's just been laying around waiting for me to have the motivation to do double knitted button band, not button band, but double knitted straps again. And I was also really worried about getting the straps the same length and counting rows, and them just looking good. I did get a tip to make the transition look good. Here is the transition where this is one way and this is the front and this is the back yoke, but you can see that went really seamlessly. I got the tip to, before starting knitting, after the Judy's Magic cast on, to frog back one row or two just to make the transition more seamless, and that really helped. You can't really see where I did the transition, and the little bit you can see now I think is going to disappear once it's blocked. And then when I started knitting, I got the idea of using these little like light bulb stitch markers to have them in the stitch where I first started knitting. I did that on both sides so I could easier count, and that was really helpful. I love having these now. I haven't had them for that long. I think I've had them for like a month now, but I think they're my favorite knitting accessory, except for like those wires you use to put your stitches on hold. Those two things are absolute musts for me. I use both of those things every single day. So if you're going to like splurge or use any money on any kind of knitting accessory, I would recommend the light bulb stitch markers and the wires to put your stitches on hold. Those are the only things of the knitting accessories I have that are like musts to me. I've held out on these stitch markers for really long because I don't really use stitch markers in my knitting. I don't mark off where I'm doing raglan or anything. I just read that in my knitting, so I thought it's not really going to be necessary. But light bulb stitch markers are so great because you can also undo them and everything, so you can just slip them into your knitting, which is great for things like this because it's in my knitting now, but I can also take it out, which my other stitch markers can't do that. I can just use them in my knitting, and I don't do that as much if the stitch isn't really super complicated. But this I love. I think they're also great for doing buttons because I can stick this in the opposite button band when I'm doing buttonholes, so I make sure they're lined up perfectly. They just have a lot of really nice uses. I'm obsessed with them. The bad thing about them though is that they're really small and my son's obsessed with them, so I'm losing them really fast. But I absolutely love this, can't recommend them enough. I'm so glad that I finally went and got some because they've made the whole knitting experience a lot better. But once I finally got around to actually doing the double knitting again, that went quite quickly. I didn't have to do a lot, so that went quickly, and then I could finally start on the back. And once I started on the back, I did this like right before filming, and it went so quickly. This was just, I think, the half hour now before I started filming, and as you can see, it has grown quite a lot. It's not like super much, but it has grown quite a lot. The back is starting a lot higher than the front. Here is what's supposed to be like on top of my shoulders. So the front is going to be a bit more like low cut, and then in the back it's going to be a lot higher up. It's not exactly how it's going to be now, but that gives like the general idea of it. So I have to work on the back yoke a lot longer than the front because that's going to be longer. But I really really love this lace patterning. It's so easy to just remember it. I don't have to look at the chart all the time because it is really simple, and therefore it just grows really fast, and it is really fun to do and so impactful, and I love. Another thing I really love about the lace of this is that when you do the lace and establish the pattern, you can see it kind of starts to make the top of it kind of ruffle, which I really like this thing. So just there's a lot of details I really enjoy. I can't wait to get to the point where you connect the body. I haven't really understood because I haven't gotten there in the pattern, but you connect the body and then you go back later and finish off the double knitting, which I'm really excited to see how you do and just to see it grow. I am still on my first skein, and this skein still feels quite full. I think I'm over halfway through it, but there is still a good amount left here. I really want to be able to finish the whole yoke using the first skein because I only have 2 skeins, and I hope to be able to make this top using those 2 skeins. It might be a bit cropped, but that's okay. I usually like my canvas to end at about here anyways, and that is quite cropped, so hopefully it will be enough yarn. It might be a bit of yarn chicken, but yarn chicken is usually quite motivating as long as I win in the end. If I lose, it might turn into a bit of a drag, but I find yarn chicken quite motivating at this point where I am totally unsure of how it's going to go, because then I just want to knit to see how it will go, if I'll be able to do it with this yarn. But yeah, this is my test knit so far. This has to get more priority this week because it is a test knit. So yeah, I think I'll have to try to at least get quite far on the body this week and finish everything around here. So I'll have finished all of the main points of the test knit and just have to finish the body. That has to be my goal this week. It does work out quite quick when I just work on it, so I just have to realize that this is a project I really should work on and not cast on everything else. But that is my first whip. Haven't really gotten a ton of attention, but I picked it up yesterday and today and have gotten a bit of work done. And then my next oldest whip, both of my next whips I have cast on this week, because I am just in a cast on mood. I did get quite stressed last week about just the sheer size of my yarn stash. It is huge, and I have been on a stash busting mission this whole year without that working out really, but I have gotten a lot of yarn in different ways, and I love all of my yarn. It has a plan. I'm just a bit like, it needs to be downsized a bit now, so I'm trying to work through it as fast as I can while still enjoying myself. And I think my goal right now is to get under 100,000 meters. I have like 3,000 meters to go before I'm under that. I would love to get that done in June. I like to go by meters because those go by a lot quicker than grams. I would also love to get under 30 kilos in my stash, but I think that's a couple months ahead because I have like 3 or 4 kilos to go, so I don't think that's going to happen until after this summer, maybe in August or September. But those are like my 2 goals right now, so I think that's encouraged me to cast on a lot because trying to get the yarn out of my stash. But this project, this is the Sophie shawl. I didn't really plan on making this because this is not really a summer project. As I said, we don't really have summer weather, but I'm trying to pretend that we do. But this really isn't a summer project. It's a shawl and in quite warm yarn. But I just couldn't resist. I love me some Sophie shawl or scarf, and I was also going to visit a friend, and I want to bring my knitting everywhere I go in case I can just get in a few stitches. And on the current projects I had the test knit with the double knitting and the lace work, and that wasn't really a great project to bring with me when visiting a friend. And then I also had another project, but I was on Sleeve Island and I knit sleeves on deep ends, and I don't like traveling with active stitches on deep ends, and especially not with kids. So none of my projects really worked to bring with me, so I decided to go for the Sophie shawl. You can't see my top shelf on this one, but on the top shelf I have quite a lot of yarn ready to go to make Sophie shawls, because Sophie shawls is great. It's a quick knit, it's a mindless knit. I've knit both the Sophie shawl and scarf quite a few times now. I'm nearing up on 10, I think, for them combined. So I don't really have to think about it, I can just do. And I also think they're going to make great gifts, either for birthday gifts or Christmas gifts. My main idea was Christmas gifts, and I never start Christmas gifts early enough, and then the whole month of November and December is just stress, and I don't want it to be that way, so I'm trying to start earlier. So casting this on just worked perfectly because I got started on Christmas gifts early, and it's a really simple knit when I was going to visit a friend, so that really worked out. My son has tried to claim this though, he really likes it, he wants it, so I'm not sure it will actually be Christmas gifts, but my idea is that I have this one in this color, and I have 3 skeins. It's the alpaca wool, and I have 3 skeins of this, and then I have 3 skeins of another alpaca wool in a lighter color, and then I have 6 skeins of the lighter color as well. So my idea has kind of been that I will make the Sophie shawl 3 times, and 2 of them will be in the small size with 3 skeins. And I thought each of my grandmas could get that in the smaller size, and then I'll make a 3rd Sophie shawl in the bigger size with my 6 skeins, and then my mother could get that. So then I'll have made Sophie shawls for like all of the women in my life. So that's like my main idea, but I don't know exactly who will get which scarf and exactly how that's going to go, but that's like the plan I'm working from. I am halfway on this shawl now. It's knit on 5mm needles, and I also have another project on 5mm needles, so my projects keep stealing the needles from each other. But right now this has the needle because it's just a really nice knit to have. You don't really have to think about anything, you can just knit, which I love. So today I wanted to have this on my needles a little bit. I don't know if I'll knit on this the whole day. I might knit on this until I finish the skein. I don't quite know, but this has my 5mm needles now. And as I said, I'm knitting this in alpaca wool. It's my first time ever using alpaca wool. It's a mix between alpaca and wool, which and wool, which I knit in quite a lot. It's almost the same as like Flora, Lima, Nepal, just Sannes garn, and I really like it. It's one of the recommended yarns for the Sophie shawl actually, and it is really soft, and the fabric it makes is just so soft and squishy and flowy. I've made the Sophie shawl before using Drops Lima. I have one in Drops Lima. I've made one for my sister in, no, not Lima, in Nepal. I made one for both me and my sister. And I really like that. The gauge is really tight and it's really warm, but because the gauge is so very tight, it's a bit more stiff. This is like very flowy and everything. It's not really stiff at all, whereas the Nepal is quite stiff because the gauge is so tight. It loosens up a bit in wear and washing, and it's not like stiff, but this is very flowy if you compare it to the Nepal. So that's also been fun to knit it up and it feeling so different. I'm really enjoying knitting this up now, and it's almost making me want another one, but I have two Sophie shawls actually, because I made another version for myself using Drops alpaca and Drops puna, and that one is really soft and really flowy, and the drape on that is insane. So I have enough, but I just love Sophie shawls and Sophie scarves, so it's just really tempting to just make an infinite amount for myself and others. But I didn't really mean to cast this on this week, it just happened, and it's a fun knit and it's a great stash busting knit because it's knit on quite thick needles, which means it goes by quite quickly, and I'll get to eliminate 150 grams from my stash in just a couple of days, or 300 meters, so that's really fun. But that's really all I have to say about the Sophie shawl. It's quite basic, but I recommend it. I think it's a great gift knit if you want to gift knit for people, or if you want to start planning your Christmas knits. And then my last whip, which I have been knitting the most on, and is my kind of obsession knit, is another Blouse No. 1. I love Blouse No. 1 by Myfavoritethings.knitwear. I am obsessed with it. I've already made 2 different versions, and now I'm working on my 3rd one, and this is going to be a dress. I haven't gotten super far yet. This is about a bit longer than I would make the sweater. Probably it hits me at about my hips, but I am quite happy with this progress because I think I started on Tuesday and today's Friday, so I'm happy with my progress in that amount of days. It's flown by really quickly so far. I think my next thing I'm going to do is sleeves, just to get a break from working on the body, because since I'm making this into a dress, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time working on the body, and I think also when trying it on, it having sleeves will help me gauge how exactly it will fit, because that's going to be a bit of extra weight here, and it will just help me see the whole thing a bit better. This one, Blouse No. 1, is also knit with Drops Cotton Merino. I am having like a little bit of obsession with Drops Cotton Merino lately. I think like every other project I make is with Drops Cotton Merino. I did get a lot of it in my stash quite recently, and I am loving it. It's so soft, and the stitch definition is great. I have a lot of fun colors in my stash. It really works with summer knitting, and since it is cotton, it isn't too warm, but the cotton doesn't really make it feel like icky to knit with, so I'm really enjoying working with that. And this is in like a rust burnt orangey color. I did just run out of my, I think, 4th skein for this one, so I put it on stitch holders because this is the other project I have on 5mm needles. So took a little break from this because I've been knitting on it like crazy, to have a little break with the Sophie shawl. But I might be working more on this later. I do also want to try it on, but I would love for it to be more like dress length before really trying it on. I think it's going to be nice, and I really like the fit of my other Blouse No. 1s, but since this is a dress, I'm a bit like eager to see how my hips are going to affect this, because my hips is the widest point on my body, and I am knitting the size from my bust measurements, so I don't know if it's going to be like stretched around my hips, and if that's just going to make it a bit stretched all over. I might, if it turns into being like really stretched and loose fitting all over, I don't know if I like that, or if I want to do a belt, either like an I-cord or a double knitted just like belt to wear with this, but I have to knit the body longer just to see how I feel about the way it's going to fit. But I've been trusting the process so far and just thought it's going to be good, but yesterday evening I started to worry a bit about how it was going to fit over my hips and everything, so I'm very much in the trust the process stage right now, but I think it's going to be okay, fingers crossed. I just have to, I think like this is the length I get from one skein from here down here, so I think like 2 or 3 skeins more would get me to a length where I can try it on as a dress. So yeah, I have to just knit on this and hope it will be okay, but I think so. I have a lot of faith in this, and I really like the color, and I think it's going to be great. I am just a bit worried right now, but I usually get that way. I know the first time I made the blouse number 1, I was also worried because I didn't like the edges rolling up. I just tend to overthink my projects at like this point in time, but in the end I'm almost always happy with it, so I think that's going to be the way it is now as well, because I've been really happy with it and loved everything up until this point, and I still love it. I'm just unsure. I'm going to make this with long sleeves because I think a quite short dress but with long sleeves would look really cool for summer and early fall. And in this color as well. I'm really excited about it. I think it will be great for summer because of the temperatures, but with this color as well, I think it's going to be great for fall. I just have to layer it more, but I am really excited about this. And yeah, I love blouse number 1. It is my current obsession, but my one problem with the blouse number 1 is that I can never remember to do the German short rows. I made it 3 times now. The first time I remember because it was my first time making the pattern, and I read the pattern a bit more closely as I was going. And then the second time I totally forgot about the German short rows and I didn't remember them until I'd gotten too far to frog back. And then on this one I thought, okay, I made a mistake last time, I'm going to read the pattern now. And then I cast on, and all of a sudden I'd almost done all of these first increases here, and before realizing that once again I'd forgotten the German short rows. But I did realize this time quickly enough that I decided to just frog the whole thing and start all over again, because for the dress I really wanted to have the German short rows. For the t-shirt I made in the wrong gauge, it didn't really matter that much to me, but for this one I really wanted it, so I frogged the whole thing and started again, and this time I remembered it. But there's something about the blouse number 1 that just makes me forget the German short rows. I think it might be because in the pictures the neckline still sits so high up on the neck that I don't really think about the possibility of it having German short rows, but it does, and I need to start remembering that. But yeah, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but at least I'll know, like, in my mind that I remembered it. But yeah, this is my blouse number 1 that will hopefully be a dress. Maybe the next time we speak. I am really excited about this. I can't wait. I just put it on me like this all the time and just imagine it being done. I love this. I am quite happy with all of the summer knits I've been able to make this year. In other years I've had a lot of plans and then I haven't gotten around to any of them, and the ones I've gotten around to haven't really turned out perfectly. But this year I am really happy with how many summer knits I've been able to make, and how happy I am with the summer knits I've been able to make. I am absolutely obsessed with every single one of them, and I want to wear them as much as possible. I love this one. I love both my blouses number 1. I love the cardigan I made in like summery colors, even though the fabric isn't really summery. I am really pleased with all of the things I've been able to make this year, and that's really nice because I've really struggled with finding the like right fit for me when it comes to summer knits. I have not really found a fit that I love before, or if I've loved the fit, I've made a mistake with the yarn I've chosen, and it's never like really hit the nail on the head. But this year I really feel it has, And it might be because I have moved a lot away from just knitting the tiniest summer knits on the tiniest needles, because the ones I've been really happy with this year have been on 5mm needles, like this one and the Blouse No. 1. So just like broadening my horizon for what I look like as summer knits has really helped, and that it doesn't have to be on like 2.5mm or 3mm needles to be a summer knit. This of course is on 3mm needles, but I think this is going to be really cute as well. But not just knitting a summer camisole just because everyone else is knitting it has been really nice, and just taking a bit more time to consider what I'm knitting, because winter knits I'm usually always happy with. I really know what I love when it comes to winter knits, but I haven't really known when it comes to summer knits because I haven't done that a lot before I started knitting Petiteknit really. So it's been quite a steep learning curve, but this year I finally feel like I'm actually figuring it out and knitting things I actually love. Not that I don't like the ones previous years, they're just not, they all have like some tiny mistakes, but this year I'm just 100% happy with all of them. But that's really it for my active projects, and then we can move into finished objects because I actually have one this week. As I said, I did finish one project this week, and that is this. This is the Ellen's cardigan by Petiteknit that I knit for my son. This is the first time in, I think, months I've knit for him, so it was really nice to be back to knitting for him. I have missed it, and now that I've knit for him I realized how much I've knitted. I've missed it, so I'm definitely going to do more of that going forward. But here you can see the cardigan. This too is knit in Topp's cotton merino. I wanted him to have a bit of a summer wardrobe, but also of course have the merino in it because it's not super warm here, and I wanted it to last him for quite some time. So I've knit this in 4 to 5 years, even though he's just about to turn 3, so hopefully he'll be able to have this for a couple of years. I love this cardigan. It is perfect, like basic, some basic raglan increases, which I love for children's clothing. Just super basic stockinette, but it does have these super cute pockets, which I loved knitting, and I love that he has them. He can fill them with all sort of stuff, and I love that. I love to make knitting a bit more functional as well, so that was really fun. I learned how to do pockets. I learned how to mattress stitch them together. So here you can see on the wrong side, here is the sides where I did the mattress stitch, and then I have sewn them into the fabric of the cardigan so they won't flop around too much, because then they won't be as functional and it can be a bit uncomfortable with just flapping pockets. But now they are secure, and I can't wait for him to use this and put all of the stuff in his pockets and come home and show, or come back and show everything he has found worthy of taking with him. It is also so soft, and I love this color. Just everything about this project was great. I had so much fun knitting on it. It just flew by, and it really opened my eyes, as I said, to how much I've missed knitting for my son, knitting baby clothes and toddler clothes and children clothes in general. I love that. It's so special to knit for small people, and I love being able to gift for babies when they're born. That's also really special. But there is something about knitting for my own son, bringing him in on the process, showing him it as I go, that is just so special, and he's the whole reason I started knitting again. So being able to knit for him is so great. And also, as I said, his birthday is closing up, and the last year I have been very focused on all of the babies in our lives, so a lot of his sweaters I only have in the size now 2 to 3, and then I haven't made the 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 version of it yet. I have this whole, oh, let me try to get it. Oh, I have this whole thing filled with yarn for different projects for him. I have some yarn here for a jacket for him for Christmas. I'm also going to use this yarn to make him a Friday sweater. I have some yarn for an anchor sweater in here. Nordby pullover, I think. Teddy bear sweater. Williams overalls. Marseille sweater I have in here. Yarn for a holder sweater. I have a lot of yarn for a lot of projects that I'm really excited about. This is the sweaters for his wardrobe from like now until, I think most of it is like 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, but I also have a sweater in here that I'm going to knit in the size 5 to 6 years. So this is where most of his knitted wardrobe for the next few years live, and I am really excited about it. I just need to find time to knit on it. I also have a fold same size as this thing with different baby knits for the babies that might come in our life, friends' babies, so I can just pick that and knit a gift knit, or blankets, everything is in another like this. So I have a lot of baby knits planned, and toddler knits. It's just really hard to find time for them and to know when to prioritize the different things, but I'm definitely going to knit more from this going forward, especially since I need to make him some of the things before he grows out of all of his knits now. I think I might try to make a good few of them for his birthday. That is in about a month, so I have this one, and I have quite a few pieces I haven't weaved in the ends for, and then I have a few here, so maybe I'll have the time to do that. We'll see, but that could be a nice gift. He does really love knitting and his knitted clothes, so I think that could be nice. I also have some other yarn that I have planned projects for him in, but that have not made it to the basket yet because it's quite full and I haven't really made time to knit from it a lot recently, but we can focus on this one for now. This one you also make the button bands as you go, which I really like because I'm not the biggest fan of picking up, but when I read the pattern I realized you're supposed to knit the button band as you go, but then you're supposed to go back after that when you're done with the whole thing and make the buttonholes. And I just hated that idea, to be honest. I am really bad at going back and weaving in ends, so adding even more things to that, like I'm bad at weaving in ends, I'm bad at sewing in buttons, I'm bad at everything that has to do with the other parts than knitting. I just procrastinate that forever, honestly, so I didn't want to add another thing on top of that to create the buttonholes when I could just do that as I went, but it didn't really tell me the interval between buttons, so I had to figure that out myself, which was a bit of a struggle. And the first time I did it wrong because I went from the whole length of the cardigan and then tried to figure out the spacing of the buttons, but the spacing of the buttons also have to match with the amount of rows you do in between them, and I had figured out how long they should be in between, but I had done 2 rows too much, and 2 rows isn't that much, but when that adds up over time, over the 6 buttons, that is quite a few rows in the end. So I had to ladder down this whole button band and just do the buttonholes. First time I had to do them 2 rows earlier, and then 4 rows earlier, and then 6 rows earlier, and then 8 rows earlier. But when I did that, it lined up perfectly. So the first buttonhole is all the way up here, and the last one is all the way down here, and then they are exactly the same length apart throughout here. So I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy I just laddered down immediately when I found the mistake instead of hoping it would just be right. But yeah, I've done a lot of frogging, leathering down mistakes, but I guess you learn from your mistakes. I do think I learn from my mistakes, but the one thing I don't learn from them is to avoid them, because as I said with the blouse number 1, for example, I've made that mistake multiple times, but forgetting the German short rows, and I do not learn, but I guess I learn how to lather down more efficiently, how to frog more efficiently by making the mistakes. I just don't learn to not repeat them. But this is my son's newest cardigan. I think I'm going to do wooden buttons, just some plain wooden buttons. I think that will suit this perfectly. I think I have to get new buttons soon too, because I have a lot of knits that need weaving in ends and buttons, and I don't know if I have enough buttons, and if I have enough buttons, I don't think I'm going to have that many left after I'm done, because this needs 6 buttons, and then he has some other things that also needs buttons, and since I don't like doing buttons, I don't buy buttons that often, so I don't really know how many buttons I have. But I'm actually going to go get all of my knits that needs ends weaved in. I have them in like my bucket of shame. This whole thing is filled. I think there are like close to 20 things in here now that needs their ends weaved in, and it's just silly that I haven't done it. As you can see, some of these are like from winter time. I think the oldest thing I haven't weaved in the ends for is this, and that's from last September. So I need to get a grip with this, and I think it will be easier for me to weave in ends as I go if I no longer have this like basket of shame, because now it's so easy for my new knits to just join in here, and it's so shameful that I don't really want to look at it and don't really want to do anything about it. But I really should just get working on it and just do it, but I really struggle to motivate myself. I know when I do it, because I do weave in ends on some of my knits, the knits I give away immediately or something, but once they end up in here, I really struggle with it. I have tried weaving in ends as I go. I really don't like that, because it kind of breaks up my knitting mojo and my knitting flow, so that just ruins the whole experience for me. I have tried to weave in ends immediately when I finish a project, but I usually cast off my projects in the middle of the night, and when it's 3 a.m. I don't really want to sit up for an hour or more to weave in ends, and the next morning I'm like on to the next project, so I don't really know how to fix it. I think I just have to put it in my calendar or something, that like every week or every other week I have it like blocked out in my calendar to weave in ends, because whatever I'm doing right now is not working out. Oh, I have another project here actually that should also go into here, my baby blanket. So now this is like actually full. I can't fit anything more in here. I think that's a sign that I should do something about it, but yeah, I don't like weaving in ends. But all that being said, that's really all I have for this week. Now I'm going to go back to knitting on all of my projects that I'm super excited about. The one thing though is that I usually plan my project out really far in advance, like, oh, after I finish this, I'm going to cast on this. After I finish this, I'm going to cast on this. But with the projects I have now, I have no idea what I'm going to do next. Of course, I still have my wedding dress to fall back on and to work on, and that I really should work on, but I have no idea what I should cast on next. If I'm just going to be knitting for my son, if I want to maybe knit a bit of baby clothing now, if I want to continue just knitting all of the summer clothes, if I want to get started on the adult gift knits that are here, I have no idea, and that's a bit unsettling because I really like to plan in advance. But I'm just going to go and knit on my current pieces, and hopefully I'll have something that comes to mind. But if you have anything in my stash that you know I'm planning to knit that you want to see, feel free to give me some advice on what I should custom next, because I really don't know. But with all that being said, I'm going to go now. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!